All right, so let's dive into something kind of interesting today.
Okay.
We're talking Pepsi.
Huh.
Not just the sugary drinks, though.
Right.
We're looking at their surprising growth
Okay.
in international markets.
Interesting.
And get this,
What?
healthier snacks.
Really?
It's a bit of a shift, right?
Yeah, definitely.
From what we think of when we think Pepsi.
Exactly. Yeah, and the source for this deep dive
Okay.
is a Motley Fool article
Mm-hmm.
titled "Hovering Around a 4-Year Low, Is This High-Yield Dividend King Too Cheap to Ignore?"
Okay.
Published on February 6, 2025.
All right, so.
We'll be exploring
Yeah.
whether this might be an investment opportunity
Okay.
worth considering.
So the article starts with a bit of a shocker.
Yeah.
Pepsi stock
Uh-huh.
dropped 4.5% after their Q4 2024 report. Not exactly exciting news.
Not the kind of news that gets investors excited. No.
No, not at all.
The drop points to a couple of key challenges
Okay.
that Pepsi is facing. First, sales volumes are declining in North America, specifically in their core brands like Frito-Lay, PepsiCo Beverages,
Yeah.
and Quaker Foods.
All right.
Frito-Lay and PepsiCo Beverages saw a 3% dip,
Okay.
while Quaker Foods took a steeper 6% hit.
All right. So not smooth sailing in their home market.
Right.
But hold on. Didn't we say something about international markets being
Yeah.
a potential bright
Well,
spot?
International expansion is actually Pepsi's biggest growth opportunity,
Okay.
according to the article.
So are they seeing good volume growth internationally?
They are seeing good volume growth internationally,
Okay.
but profits aren't quite matching up
Why is that?
due to the negative impact of foreign exchange.
Those pesky currency fluctuations.
Yeah.
But here's a curveball.
Okay.
Despite these challenges, Pepsi still managed to increase its dividend. Wow. For the 53rd consecutive year.
That's impressive.
That's impressive consistency, isn't it?
Absolutely. It makes them a dividend king, which means they've consistently increased their dividend payouts for at least 50 consecutive years.
Okay.
This is a strong signal to investors that the company is financially stable and committed to returning value to its shareholders.
For those of us who might not be financial wizards,
Sure.
what does Dividend King status actually mean
Yeah.
for potential investors?
It's a really good indicator of a company's stability and reliability.
Okay.
Think of it this way.
All right.
Consistently increasing dividends over decades suggests
Yeah.
that a company has weathered various economic storms and still managed to reward its investors.
Yeah.
It signifies a strong track record of profitability
Okay.
and a commitment to shareholder value.
Okay. That makes sense.
Yeah,
So we've got this Dividend King facing some headwinds,
right.
but still holding strong.
Uh-huh.
What's their plan to tackle these challenges and get back on that growth track?
Well, the article highlights their focus on international markets, which the CEO called their largest growth opportunity.
Interesting.
He even went on to say
Yeah.
that their international business is already a $40 billion business.
$40 billion.
Which is no small feat.
Yeah, that's definitely not chump change.
Right.
But do they have the numbers
Yeah.
to back up this international optimism?
The numbers are pretty compelling. Over the past 5 years, Frito-Lay North America saw sales increase by almost 45%,
Okay.
which is respectable.
Yeah.
But internationally, the growth is even more impressive.
Wow.
Sales in Latin America are up 54.7%.
Okay.
Asia Pacific, Australia, New Zealand, and China are up 66%.
Wow.
And Africa, the Middle East, and South Asia are up a whopping 70.3%.
Wow. Those are some impressive figures.
Yeah.
It seems like Pepsi's really tapping into some emerging markets with a huge potential.
Right.
But what's driving this growth?
There are a few key factors at play here.
Okay.
First, rising middle classes in many of these regions are translating into increased disposable income
Okay.
and a greater demand for consumer goods,
Right.
including snacks and beverages. Second, changing dietary habits in some of these markets
Okay.
are leading to an increased appetite for packaged foods,
Yeah.
which benefits companies like Pepsi.
Okay.
And finally, there's often less competition
Right.
in these emerging markets
Yeah.
compared to the saturated North American market.
So it's not just about selling more of the same.
Exactly.
It's about tapping into a whole new wave of consumers
Right.
with different needs and preferences.
Uh-huh.
Now let's talk about something that really caught my eye.
Sure.
The shift toward healthier snacks.
Okay.
Frito-Lay sales are slowing down,
Yeah.
which suggests that consumer tastes are changing, right?
Absolutely. Consumers are becoming more health conscious,
Okay.
and they're looking for snack options that align with their dietary goals.
Right.
This is where Pepsi's strategic move toward healthier snacks comes into play.
And they're putting their money where their mouth is,
Yes.
so to speak. They recently acquired Cite Foods for $1.2 billion.
Wow.
A company known for its grain-free and dairy-free
Interesting.
Mexican-American food options.
Okay.
That's a pretty clear signal, isn't it?
It is. Cite Foods caters to the growing market of health-conscious snackers, particularly those looking for gluten-free and dairy-free options.
Okay.
It also gives Pepsi a strong foothold in the growing Mexican-American food market,
Right.
which is a smart move considering the changing demographics in the U.S.
Yeah, it's like they're acknowledging
Yeah.
that the traditional junk food image might not be sustainable in the long run.
Exactly. The CEO even talked about
Yeah.
using acquisitions like Siete and Sabra to expand into mini meals.
Mini meals.
This could potentially open up a whole new revenue stream for them,
Interesting.
catering to consumers who are looking for convenient, healthy, and on-the-go meal options.
So they're not just selling chips and soda anymore.
Right.
They're becoming a player in the broader food and beverage landscape,
Exactly.
adapting to the changing needs and preferences of consumers. It's a pretty significant shift, wouldn't you say?
It's a bold move
Yeah.
to try and reposition themselves as a company that offers more than just sugary drinks and salty snacks.
Right.
But is it enough to overcome the challenges they're facing
Right.
in their core markets?
Yeah.
That's the million-dollar question.
Okay, so we've got Pepsi, this Dividend King, trying to navigate a changing landscape
Right.
by expanding internationally and venturing into healthier snack options.
Yes.
But there's still that looming question.
Yeah.
Is this enough to make them a worthwhile investment?
That's what we'll be exploring next.
Okay.
We'll dive into the author's perspective on Pepsi's investment potential, looking at their financials, their growth strategies, and the risks and rewards involved.
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah.
Let's take a quick break,
Okay.
and we'll be right back.
Sounds good.
Okay, so we've laid out the landscape. Pepsi facing challenges in North America, but making big moves internationally and into healthier options.
Right.
What's the article's take on whether this is a good investment right now?
Well, the author seems pretty optimistic.
Okay.
They see Pepsi as a company with a diverse portfolio, capable leadership, and a real commitment to adapting to what consumers want.
Okay. But we've also talked about those declining sales volumes.
Yeah.
Couldn't they just slash prices to boost sales quickly?
Yeah.
A lot of companies do that, right?
They could, but that's an interesting point.
Yeah.
And it speaks to a key insight about Pepsi's strategy.
What's that?
They're choosing to prioritize profitability over simply chasing volume.
Interesting.
In some cases, they're even making minor price increases.
Really?
Which suggests confidence in their brand and pricing power.
So they're not panicking,
No,
even with those North American numbers.
not really.
It's almost like they're playing chess,
Right.
thinking several moves ahead.
Exactly, and the Dividend King status backs that up.
Right.
They just increased the dividend by 5%,
Oh,
which makes the stock even more attractive for income-focused investors.
right.
It suggests they're managing for the long term, not just a quick fix.
Speaking of the long term, this whole shift towards healthier snacks, is that just a fad?
Well,
What if consumers' tastes change again in a few years?
that's the billion-dollar question for any company in the food and beverage industry.
Right.
What's fascinating here is that Pepsi isn't abandoning its traditional products entirely.
Okay.
They're diversifying, trying to appeal to a broader range of preferences.
So they're hedging their bets,
Exactly.
recognizing that the definition of healthy is always evolving.
Precisely, their international expansion plays into this as well.
Okay.
Different cultures have different tastes and dietary habits. By
Right.
going global,
Yeah.
they're tapping into a wider array of what consumers want.
Reducing their reliance on any single market or product.
It's like spreading the risk.
Yeah.
If one market slows down, they've got others to balance it out.
Exactly.
But that global expansion must come with its own set of challenges, right?
Absolutely. Navigating different cultures,
Yeah.
regulations, and consumer preferences across diverse international markets is complex.
Right.
It requires a deep understanding of local dynamics,
Yeah.
which can be difficult to achieve from a centralized headquarters.
Okay. So it's a global game of chess then.
Yeah, it is.
But back to the investment side of things.
Okay.
The article mentioned Pepsi's price-to-earnings ratio.
Right.
For those of us who aren't financial analysts, what does that even mean?
It's a key metric investors use to gauge the value of a company's stock.
Okay.
The price-to-earnings ratio, or PE ratio, tells you how much investors are willing to pay for each dollar of a company's earnings.
Right.
Pepsi's current PE ratio is 20.6, which is relatively low compared to some of its competitors.
So lower PE ratio.
Yeah.
Is that good or bad?
It depends on your investment strategy.
Okay.
A lower PE ratio can sometimes indicate that a stock is undervalued.
Okay.
Meaning investors aren't willing to pay a high price for its earnings.
Right.
This could be an opportunity for bargain hunters.
Okay, so it's not just about whether Pepsi's doing well, but also how the market perceives their value compared to other companies.
Exactly. You have to look at the bigger picture and consider factors like industry trends, competitor performance, and overall market sentiment.
It's getting complex.
Yeah.
I'm starting to see why financial analysis is a whole profession in itself.
It is.
So let's bring it back down to earth for a minute.
Okay.
What stood out to you most from this article?
For me, it's Pepsi's commitment to dividends, combined with their willingness to accept short-term hits to profitability in favor of strategic growth.
Interesting.
That balance is rare.
Yeah, and could pay off handsomely for long-term investors.
It's like they're saying, we're not just trying to squeeze every last penny out right now.
Right.
We're building for the future.
Exactly. And that's a key takeaway for any investor.
Okay.
Are you looking for short-term gains? Or are you willing to ride out some bumps for the potential of long-term growth?
Right.
That's a question you have to ask yourself.
So with all this in mind,
Yeah.
should our listeners rush out and buy Pepsi stock?
Whoa, hold on.
Okay.
This deep dive isn't about giving financial advice.
Right. Right. Of course, no stock tips here.
It's about arming you with the knowledge to make your own informed decisions.
Yeah, we have given a lot to think about.
Absolutely. Pepsi's performance, strategies, and even their financials offer valuable insights into how companies adapt in a changing market.
And how to evaluate those changes as a potential investor.
Exactly.
But before we wrap things up, there's one more thought I want to leave our listeners with.
Something to really ponder. So we talked about Pepsi moving toward these healthier snacks and this global expansion. But are those trends really going to last?
Right.
Now, what happens if consumers' tastes shift again?
Yeah, that's always a possibility.
Or those international markets become less profitable?
Well, those are great questions.
Yeah.
And they highlight the inherent risk in any investment.
Okay.
What's interesting about Pepsi's approach is they're not putting all their eggs in one basket.
Right. They're diversifying.
Exactly.
So it's less about predicting the future perfectly and more about building a company that can adapt to multiple possible futures.
Precisely, they're acknowledging that what's considered healthy is constantly evolving.
Totally.
And what's popular in one culture might not be in another.
Right.
By expanding their offerings and their global reach, they're creating a buffer against those shifts.
It's like building a more resilient business model.
One that can weather the storms
Right.
of changing consumer preferences.
Exactly. But let's not sugarcoat it.
Okay.
Successfully navigating those different cultural nuances, the regulatory environments, evolving tastes across all these diverse international markets is a massive undertaking.
It's a high-stakes game for sure.
It is.
And that brings us back to you, the listener.
Right.
We've unpacked Pepsi's performance, their strategic shifts, their financials.
Yeah.
We even touched on the broader trends shaping the food and beverage industry.
We did.
What are your takeaways?
Yeah, what do you think?
I mean, we always encourage our listeners to go beyond just the information we present.
Right.
Do your own research.
Exactly.
Consider your own investment goals and risk tolerance. Form your own conclusions.
Make your own decisions.
Yeah, because ultimately, this deep dive isn't about telling you what to think.
Right.
It's about giving you the tools and the insights to think for yourself.
Exactly. We hope this conversation has sparked your curiosity and made you think differently about a company you probably thought you knew.
Right.
Maybe even inspired you to explore other investment opportunities.
Yeah.
With a more critical eye.
That's what we love about these deep dives.
I know, me too.
Sparking that intellectual curiosity.
Yeah.
Empowering our listeners to become more informed decision makers.
Absolutely.
So stay curious, stay informed. And as always,
thanks
for joining us on the deep dive.
Thanks, everyone.